(8:45). This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Niranjan Abesundara. Nearly 11,000 families have been affected by the torrential rains. Relief activities and compensation for the affected people gets underway. Minister of Health says more than 1.5 million individuals have been vaccinated. Another 1,786 COVID cases have been identified. In world news, Israel-Gaza conflict rages as U.S. envoy visits. Disaster Management Center says 4 persons died while 2 others sustained injury due to the adverse weather condition in the country since May 13th. Meanwhile, as many as 42,252 people from 11,074 families have been affected by torrential rains. According to reports, inclement weather was mainly observed in Kagala, Colombo, Kaluthara, Gampaha, Kurunegala, Galle and Mathura districts. Kalaniging and many other rivers had overflowed and low-lying areas were inundated. The centre also said that 549 houses were damaged. Measures have been taken to provide compensation for the damaged houses. Relief activities and paying compensation will be carried out by the district secretaries. The government has given necessary grants in this regard. The Minister of Health says more than 1.5 million individuals have been vaccinated. The first dose of the vaccine have been given to over 1.2 million persons, and second dose has been given to 28,000 people. Meanwhile, the Minister of Health confirmed that another 1,786 persons have tested positive for coronavirus today. This brings the total number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country thus far to 139,871. As per epidemiology unit's data, 21,730 active cases are currently under medical care at hospitals and treatment centres across the island. Meanwhile, the number of total recoveries reached 117,220 and the death toll stands at 921. Meanwhile, the program to provide essential goods for families who are under quarantine will be continued. Colombo District Secretary said that 1,400 million rupees will be spent to provide 10,000 rupees goods package for the quarantined people in the Colombo District. He says that more than 27,000 families have been directed for quarantine. Navy Commander Vice Admiral Nishanta Lugethan has observed the progress of the infrastructure facilities carried out for treatment of COVID-19 patients at centres in Vathapitavela, Gampaha and Minuwangad hospitals. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Dr. Sudha Samaraveera says that there is a risk of the spread of the coronavirus in camps being occupied by displaced persons due to bad weather. He also points out displaced living in temporary camps should be adhered to health guidelines in order to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. And that ends local news for now.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Veda Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
The police say that gathering of people is completely banned at this juncture. Police are on the alert in this regard. Police media spokesman D. Jadith Rohan requests the public to inform of such incidents and violating quarantine rules to the number 1997. He said nearly 4,000 people have been taken into custody violating the quarantine rules since the New Year season. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Superivicky and Kakulu, products from Siddhaleba.
On to Watchlight, it reported that the Alpitia Batuanghena Kumar Singamawata has been severely debilitated for many years due to non-maintenance. Residents are facing many travel difficulties due to this reason. They request the road authorities to renovate the road under Government Road Development Programme. This was the attention of the chairman of the Alpitia Pradesh Sabha and came to you in Watchlight. On to world news. Israel-Gaza conflict rages as US envoy visits. Taiwan raises alert against coronavirus. Thousands attend pro-Palestinian protests in Sydney and Melbourne. A US envoy has arrived in Tel Aviv for de-escalation talks as unrest between Israel and the Palestinians continue. Hadir Amr will take part in talks with Israeli, Palestinian and UN officials and reinforce what US Department said was the need for a sustainable calm. An Israeli airstrike on a refugee camp in the Gaza Strip killed 10 people today, while a Palestinian rocket killed a man in Israel. This week's violence in Gaza and Israel is worst since 2014. At least 139 people have been killed in Gaza and 9 in Israel since the fighting began on Monday, and sirens were sounding again this afternoon in Tel Aviv and elsewhere in Israel. Taiwan has tightened measures against the coronavirus in Taipei and its neighboring city amid a surge of infections. Taiwan has been containing the virus through the steps such as travel bans and quarantine requirements. However, cases have begun to surge earlier this week with daily count of newly confirmed infections, 180 today. That compares the total of 164 cases reported over the past 1 year. Authorities have raised the alert level for the northern cities of Taipei and New Taipei from the third to the second highest on a 4-tier scale for 2 weeks from today. Thousands of people have marched through the streets of Sydney and Melbourne in solidarity with the people living in the Palestinian territories. In Sydney, men, women and children waved flags and placards as they chanted, "Free Gaza and long live Palestine." Iraqi, Lebanese, Syrian and indigenous communities also joined the peaceful protest outside Town Hall in the CDB. Rallies were held in response to week-long violence between Israel and Hamas, which has now spilled over into the West Bank and the Lebanese border. Back to the headlines of the world news. Israel-Gaza conflict rages as UN envoy visits. Taiwan raises alert against coronavirus. Thousands attend pro-Palestinian protests in Sydney and Melbourne. On to development news. 3,400 kilometers of rural roads will be reconstructed in the eastern, north, Uber and western provinces. Another 340 kilometers of roads also be scheduled to be renovated in these provinces. This program will be now implemented under the third stage of the second joint road investment program. The overall program is to be completed by the year 2027. $20 million will be invested for the activities of the Asian Development Bank. Expenditure for the overall project is estimated to be at $900 million. That is development news.
Sports News is brought to you by...
When Aya bought a motorbike, he bought 2 helmets. So sweet of him. I'm sure the other one is for me.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan neve.
The nation's athletic meet will be conducted on the 22nd and 23rd of this month at the Kalam Sugdasa Stadium as planned. No permission will be granted to anyone to enter the stadium. The president of the Athletic Association, Major General Partha Fernandez, said if any bad situation is created, the tournament will have to be postponed. Arrangements have been made to conduct the tournament on 4 weekends under the health guidelines. That is sports news.
My wife always sets a full lunch table, even if it's just the 2 of us. She always expects people to drop by, like maybe the army.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan neve.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Nestle Lunk has launched an innovative solution for managing and monitoring its cold storage temperature developed by the premier business solution provider, Dialog Enterprise. The solution is the first of its kind in the local food industry. It will automize the maintenance of optimal conditions for Nestlé's cold storage and raw materials, by triggering alarms and forwarding SMS alerts if there are fluctuations in temperature and humidity. That was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news, the Treasury bills worth 47 billion rupees will be issued. The relevant auction will be held on Wednesday. Central Bank says biddings have been called from primary dealers on government securities. That was economic news.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces and in the Gaul and Mathura districts. Several spells of showers will occur in the northern and north-central provinces. Showers or thunder showers will occur at few places in the eastern Uva provinces during the evening or night. That was the weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Back to the headlines of the news. Nearly 11,000 families have been affected by the torrential rains. Relief activities and compensation for affected people gets underway. Ministry of Health says more than 1.5 million individuals have been vaccinated. Another 1,786 COVID cases have been identified. In world news, Israel-Gaza conflict rages as U.S. envoy visits. That in the news, and well, Maria, with the also ready to keep you entertained till close of transmission. And